The Senate Minority Leader, Senator Godswill Akpabio, has said that the capital expenditure of 2.4 trillion naira in the 2018 budget estimate is an improvement on previous budgets. Senator Akpabio stated this in the chat with journalists in Abuja.
Something percent for capital is an improvement on what used to occur in the past. And that is why we were saying that they would need to unbundle the federal government. We have over 600 and something federal parastatals, directors general with some ministers and all the ministers of state. At the end of the day, the recurring expenditure of federal government never allowed for capital projects in the country. And that's why all the roads were dilapidated and the infrastructure could not hold. So if we continue to improve on the capital expenditure, as so far mentioned, and it's something like my brother said, I think the test of the pudding lies in the eating. When we look at the details and actually know what is for what is for what, that's when we know the kind of gain that Nigerians will have at the end of 2018. But for now, I think it's a pleasing development that the capital budget of the federal government is going up while the recurrent is reducing. That will help a lot to put something on the ground for Nigerians.
In a related development, Senator Ahmed Sani Yarima from Zamfara said the Senate will consider the medium-term expenditure framework alongside with the 2018 budget.
Last year has taken care of 2018. So all the districts are just what they have made provision for when presenting the FTEP of 2017 to accommodate the new realities of their projections, and there will be no problem looking at the MTEP of 2018 alongside the budget.
Muiwa Bamdele reporting.
The Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) says it will go ahead with its proposed protest in Kaduna State if the state governor Nasir El-Rufai insists on the sack of over 20,000 teachers in the state. The Labour Union had accused the governor of hiding under the pretext of competency tests to disengage workers and replace them with new ones. NLC President at a press conference in Abuja said the competency test was conducted without the relevant professional bodies regulating the teaching profession.
What surprised us most is his penchant for falsehood and fraudulent claim in his quest to impose hardship on the people, especially workers. For instance, his government claimed that the competency test conducted on teachers in the state was transparent. It's not only false, but shrouded in arrant fraud, as we have found out that some of those claimed to have passed the test were actually dead teachers, as well as teachers that have retired, who left the service some more than 2 years ago. Also included on the list of those that have actually passed were school guards who were never engaged in teaching service. The so-called competency tests were conducted without the relevant professional bodies regulating the teaching profession. But more especially, it was done by government within a prejudicial mind and intent. The Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria and the National Teachers Institute were not involved in the process.
The union also noted that the planned teachers' disengagement will not only affect the workers, but will deepen poverty and deprivation in the state.
The teachers' case is a disguise that must not be treated separately, as the ultimate plan is to execute a wholesome mass sack. Wednesday's protest was to express our collective opposition to the anti-workers policies of Governor Nasir El-Rufai, Governor of Kaduna State, that are obviously directed at not just sacking workers en masse, but deepening poverty and deprivation, as well as circumscribing the fundamental rights of the people, particularly workers in the state.
Meanwhile, the state government, in a press statement made available to newsmen, said there is no going back in the planned disengagement of the workers. In Abuja, LM Chukwameka reports.
The controversies surrounding the issue of resettlement and compensation of original indigenes of Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, will soon be laid to rest as Nigerian Senate set to pass the FCT amendment bill into law. Chairman of Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matter, Senator David Umaru, who sponsored the bill, said the bill will address all outstanding issues of compensation to the deserving Abuja indigenes.
The amendment is aimed at providing FCDA with the power, to make policies as regards payment of compensation. It's equally, it is aimed at addressing the issue of who is the original indigene, providing, a definition, for it. So I do believe that when this amendment is affected, the FCT will be empowered, to address the issue of compensation and have the matter settled once and for all.
Senator David Umaru explained that the bill will also address the status of original indigenes who are entitled to the compensation.
Yes, the definition of the Abuja indigene has nothing to do with the time, that you have spent in the FCT. That is not the question. The question is, were you there when FCT was created? Those who were originally on the land at the time of the creation of FCT are those that will be regarded as the original indigenes for the purposes of compensation. Maybe you are talking about original indigenes for other purposes, but this is specifically for the purposes of determining who is entitled to compensation at the time the FCT was created. Yes.
Meanwhile, the FCT amendment bill has passed through the second reading on the floor of the Rest Chamber of the National Assembly. Preparations are underway for conduct of public hearing. From Abuja, Nigeria, Muyiwa Bamdele reporting.
Lovely place, right?
Yes.
What's wrong? You don't look happy.
Take a look around. Why can't my hotel be like this?
I knew something was wrong, but I've got solution.
Solution? What?
Nanit.
Nanit?
Nanit offers you design solutions, building plans and construction, furnishing and equipping, financing, management, audit services, and many more services for a better hospitality business. Nanit, service with a smile.
As preparation for 2019 general elections continue to gather momentum, Nigerians have been asked to apply enterprise skill in process of electing the next generation leaders. A leadership motivational speaker, Linus Okore, made the call at a conference on emerging leaders in Abuja.
If we must make a difference, apply enterprise in the process of selecting leaders so that anybody who wants to be anything in this country, if you are not worthy of it, our stretching will vote you out. So we will stretch and vote you out. And for the young people seated here today, enough of sitting down. After this conference, some of you will develop great visions to go back to your states and run for something if you have the calling. Don't look at the money. Look at the enterprise capacity. Once you have the enterprise capacity, guess what? You will stretch and you attract the money and the goodwill.
Also speaking at the conference, Minister of State for National Planning and Budget, Zainab Ahmed, asked the youth to embrace the culture of planning as she underscored the importance of developmental planning.
The main objective and goal of planning by government is to make deliberate effort and conscious choice regarding the direction of economic growth and development with a defined time frame. Within a defined time frame, development planning entails a coordinated process of government interventions towards achieving defined macro goals and objectives with multi-oriented economic, social, and political benefits for the country's citizens. The benefits of development planning should include aligning sectoral needs with resource availability, mutually supporting sectoral development strategies, value for money in public expenditure, the implementation of program-based budgeting, and the strengthening of fiscal federalism.
The representative of the FCT minister, Senator Issa Mena, said the quality of a good leader will determine the fortune of any country.
A country is only as good as the quality of its leaders. As a matter of fact, many Nigerians have often cited bad leadership as the bane of the country. If only Nigeria has as good leaders as the resource we are blessed with, then we would be one of the most developed and prosperous nations on earth. The young people of Nigeria have proven to be some of the most resourceful and dynamic in the world. They have at very young ages become global entrepreneurs, engineers, artists, and investors.
In his remark, Cultural and Affairs Officer of U.S. Embassy in Nigeria, Larry Sosa, called on Nigerian youth to develop their leadership skill.
That we become leaders by understanding our strengths, weaknesses, values, and worldview. That we become leaders by confidently innovating and adapting to embrace a changing world. We become leaders by engaging others with positive, loving attitudes. And we become leaders by energizing ourselves and others through heroic ambition. So first, self-awareness. It's an old idea, right? Socrates had the idea of knowing yourself. But leaders thrive by understanding who they are and what they value, by becoming aware of and by becoming aware of unhealthy blind spots or weaknesses that can derail them. They cultivate the habit of continuous self-reflection and learning.
In a chat with journalist Linus Okore underscored the importance of the leadership conference.
We're gathering here to say there's deficit of enterprise in this country. A lot of people just wake up in the morning not knowing what to do to be able to get results. A lot of people are lazying about, even those who represent us in government systems. So we're trying to say that we want to teach a culture of innovation and enterprise. How do we create wealth? How do we create energy? How do we create honor? How do we create smart work? How do we create hard work? How do we push ourselves beyond limit in order to achieve common goods? That's what this conference is about. It's a 2-day event that is intense. Speakers have been selected from all over the world that will push and drive this country to a high level of growth and productivity.
In Abuja, Muyiwa Bamdele reporting.
National Coordinator Igbo Diaspora Initiative for Buhari, Honorable Ezedima David, has called on both federal and state government to reconsider the issue of national integration as a tool that will help some of the quest for secession currently seen in some parts of the country. Honorable David, in an exclusive interview with Pen TV in Abuja, said there is need to involve people of different tribes in government, noting that it will give them a sense of belonging and will help solve security problems in the country.
there's need for everybody to be carried along at every time, considering the heterogeneous nature of this country. You cannot take certain decisions without involving the other part of the country. And if that is addressed, I can tell you the cry for agitation, the cry for marginalization will die quietly, and all of us will be happy in Nigeria. Involving the non-indigenous in administration of every state, not only Nasarawa state, every other state in Nigeria, should be an idea that should be inculcated in every state in Nigeria. Because that experience, that exposure has given even the Igbo people in Nasarawa state a sense of belonging. And I can tell you, in all these cases of mistrust, IPOB cases, I know insecurity as a whole, people there in Nasarawa, Igbo people there in Nasarawa state are not perturbed, they are not moved, because they are involved. The governor invited us for a security meeting at the peak of these IPOB issues to assure us of security, because he knows we are in part of his government. Assuming we are not part of the government, people would have taken their bag and luggages and disappeared, you know. But because they are involved, they were told that this government is part of you. Don't go. We are going to make sure that the security is provided. And at the end of the day, they were all happy for it.
Honorable David, while commending President Muhammadu Buhari on his achievements and winning the war against corruption in the country, said Nigerians are happy and are willing to support the president if he declares his intention to run for president in 2019.
We can boldly and proudly say that we are happy with achievement of this present administration. It's true there are little challenges in some areas, but when you look at the overall achievement of this present administration, you have no choice than to give kudos. If you check out the number of cases that have been taken to court and are still on process, you agree with me that we are winning the war. It has never happened before. At least we have started seeing that there's a government that is committed to corruption. You know, before now, the issue of corruption is ignored. It was as if it's our lifestyle. But now people are beginning to know that corruption cannot help our economy, cannot help our society, and it should be avoided.
When asked on his thoughts on the issue of restructuring, he said,
yeah, the restructuring is good. It's a good idea. But see, what you need to understand what you want to restructure first and foremost. Is it economic restructuring? There are different types of restructuring. There are leadership restructuring too. But let's sit down and understand. If we don't get what we want to restructure right, we will not be able to restructure properly. But what I know is that economic restructuring is the way out, because economy is the basis of politics. If you get the economic question right, politics will flow.
In Abuja, LM Chukwemeka reports.